what if the mind does affect the body? And so I started looking at psychoneuroimmunology, and there's just a host of great research to show how our thoughts actually become our body's biggest enemy. Not really heal us, but actually weaken the organism.
Hi there, friends. Our habits and general unconsciousness are keeping us away from achieving our goals. Our beliefs are telling us that we are not good enough, we are weak, we can't do it, and so on. But Joe Dispenza proven that every single one of us have the same capabilities and we can achieve and manifest whatever we want. The universe is ready to give us everything we want. It just wants us to trust it, to trust ourselves. Joe Dispenza is the best person to explain how the whole process works. Stay tuned.
And then I started looking at the effects of stress, and then I saw that stress downregulates genes and creates disease. And so then I had to look at gene understanding, and then I got into epigenetics, and it made sense to me that we're not doomed to our genes, that it's just a code, it's a library of potential, it's a parts list of possibilities. And so is it possible to change our gene expression? Well, when I saw the vertebrae in my spine that were pretty, 6 of them, compressed, and all of a sudden they got some normal height back, I thought maybe there's a gene that I signaled, and genes make proteins, and proteins make structure, and proteins are responsible for function and physiology, and the expression of proteins is the expression of life. And so I thought, God, I must have been able to do something to my gene expression, because the protein scaffolding of my bones had changed. So then I started thinking, well, how does a cut heal, or how does something heal? And I started looking at the text again and reading how a cut heals, and I just thought that can't be the way it works. It just isn't that mechanical. It's not reductionistic like that. It's much more vitalistic. And so when I was a kid, my father was very keen on me going to medical school, but the more I came close to that model, the more it was mechanistic for me, and I was more of a vitalist. I believe that there's something else that's giving the cell instructions and information. And so then you can't explain how a cut heals without understanding quantum physics and how energy works. And then I started entering this world of quantum, and then, wow, somehow the mind has an effect on reality. And well, it works for the really tiny with subatomic particles, but how do we get it to work for large things like planets and real life events? Can your observation begin to change an outcome in your life? So there was a reinvention of self. And then there was the other important thing, which was so valuable, which was breaking the habit of being the old self. And a habit is a redundant set of automatic, unconscious thoughts, behaviors, and emotions that's acquired through repetition. It's when you do something so many times, your body now knows how to do it better than your conscious mind. Now it becomes a subconscious program. So that's 95% of who we are. So the process of change then requires that we become conscious of our unconscious self, so conscious of those hardwired thoughts, those automatic habituations and those emotional reactions and conditionings, so conscious that we don't go unconscious and return to that same personality, because the disease and the gene expression and the biology will stay the same. If we can change that and sustain it and begin to fire and wire new thoughts and begin to rehearse new ways of being in our mind, and begin to teach our body emotionally what a future event will feel like before it happens. If the environment signals the gene according to epigenetics, and the end product of an experience in the environment is an emotion, could we signal genes ahead of the environment? Is that what these people did? And is that what I did? So I did my best to demystify the process and use it on people to see how if they could change. And for the first couple of years, not a whole lot happened. I mean, people felt better at the end of a workshop. And then after a couple of years, we started seeing people step out of wheelchairs, and we started seeing people, cancers go into remission right in a weekend event. And that's when I knew that I had to start measuring. And that's when I knew I had to really look to see what was going on in the brains of these people. So I assembled a team of scientists and researchers. We've measured over 12,000 brains now, maybe even more than that. And I wanted to see people's brains before they came to an event, put them through the rigor of transformation, keep them in the same environment, give them the right information, have them understand what they're doing, understand why they're doing it, use science as the language to demystify the process so the how gets easier, and assign meaning to it. And if you can put intention and meaning behind it, could we get better results? And so we want to also scan brains in real time. I wanted to see your brain, Glenn's brain, in a meditation when he is either overthinking and overanalyzing, or he's learning how to suppress his analytical mind and get into the operating system where those subconscious programs exist. And the word meditation, really one of the important elements is to teach people how to self-regulate and create more coherence and change their brain waves so they can really begin to reprogram themselves. And it means to become familiar with, to become so conscious of the old self that you don't go unconscious to it, and so familiar with a new self that you become that person. And so we started measuring heart rate variability, and we wanted to see when a person's frustrated, impatient, resentful, their brain waves get a little bit aroused and their heart beats out of order, and now they're out of balance. Their physical and mental health is off. And that in that state, when we're incoherent, biologically we're incoherent in our mental health state. So is there a way to create more health and more balance? And we came up with an understanding after looking at thousands of brain scans and a lot of HRV measurements that there's a way to actually teach people how to do that. And you don't have to be a mystic, you don't have to be a saint, you don't have to be a yogi. You could just learn the formula and what kind of effects would it require. So then we started measuring gene expression, and we saw that in 4 days people could change their gene expression. In 4 days they could make genes, activate genes that make new neurons in their brain, not make new connections, but new neurons. Genes that promote, oxidative balance, genes that strengthen the immune system, genes that activate stem cells to go to damaged tissues and repair them. These are all fundamentally important genes for health. And didn't matter what you eat, didn't matter what you drink, didn't matter what you did. It's just somehow if you came and you did it, what you believed in, this color of your skin, where you're from, none of that mattered. And so then we started measuring immune regulation. If you trade fear, if you trade pain, if you trade anger and aggression for an elevated emotion, and teach people how to sustain that state, will their immune system get stronger? And we saw that people can strengthen their immune system dramatically in a very short amount of time. We measured telomere lengths. Is it possible then to lengthen your life when your body's in balance? And telomeres determine your biological age. And lo and behold, 75% of the people in the study lengthened their telomeres in 60 days. They changed their life. They changed their future. They extended their life in some way. And so I got super hopeful about this. And then we started, I wrote 4 books. And what came along with that, Glenn, that was so exciting was the testimony. Nothing like seeing a person stand on the stage that came to the event in a wheelchair and is standing on the stage in front of an audience of 1,500 people as the example of truth and can walk normally. Nothing like a person with Parkinson's disease who has severe pain and tremors and can't walk in a frozen face, smiling and holding their hand out with no tremors. It's nothing like seeing a person with stage 4 cancer that was at a previous week-long event that showed up a month later at the next week-long event with her scans to show that she had metastatic cancer spread throughout her entire body. And then all of a sudden the PET scan shows it's gone. Not there any longer. Zero. Nothing. Blind people seeing, deaf people hearing. And it got crazy. And so we have evidence in our scientific studies, and we have evidence in our testimony, and evidence becomes the loudest voice. And it's the magic number when we have somebody who is the example of truth stand in front of an audience and they look like a normal person. They don't look like a movie star, or they're not young and buffed and fit and look a certain way. They're just an average person. Mm-hmm. And they tell their story and it's not glamorous, but they're triumphant, and they kept overcoming, and they kept showing up for themselves and kept believing in themselves. That's the 4-minute mile. That's that person that pierces a level of consciousness that says it's possible. Not only is it a footprint in the field, quantum field, but it's also evidence in 3-dimensional reality, and people lean in. And this is the cool part. They lean in because there's truth looking them right in the face. And they'll say, if that person can do it, I can do it too. Consciousness is awareness, and awareness is noticing and paying attention. So when you see a person who has a transformation, and you see the science that says in a week-long event, there'll be over 600 metabolic changes in 75% of the audience for the better in a one-week event. When you know that, you're aware of another possibility. That may not be the possibility that we think is free will to choose from knowns. This is now, you're stepping outside. And when a person shows up and believes in themselves and does the work, they're believing in possibility. You cannot believe in possibility and believe in yourself. Not believe in yourself. You got to believe in yourself and believe in possibility. You got to believe in possibility. You got to believe in yourself. So, for me personally, it's way bigger than me. I'm very humbled on a regular basis. Every time I get another testimonial, I say this person is speaking the truth, and it's a footprint for somebody else to step into, and I think the world needs that more than ever.
It's the absolute truth that our minds create our reality. Whether you're depressed, unhappy, joyful, it doesn't matter. Whatever you feel, you will manifest. It's just impossible not to create in our reality, since we always feel something, even if we feel emptiness. Then we will manifest more emptiness. You don't need to believe that you are creating to be creating. Just like you don't need to believe in gravity so that gravity could exist. As soon as you truly understand that you are creator and that you are creating constantly, you will naturally start to create more consciously by choosing what you want to experience in your everyday life. That will change your life forever. Nothing will be the same again. If you are thirsty for more knowledge, watch the video on your right. You won't break a leg if you smash that subscribe button, so hit it hard. And tell me your brutally honest opinion about what you learned from this below the video. Be happy, right now.